Hi, everybody. This is Chuck from Turnkey Technologies. Welcome to this episode of the Turnkey 365 podcast. This is a podcast all about Microsoft Dynamics ERP and how we can help you to achieve ROI, time to value, reduce your risk, and innovation for your business to really deliver exactly the experience you need for your employees and customers. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Mark Olesen from Clicklearn, who is going to talk to us about learning platforms, because what ERP or CRM project doesn't involve an awful lot of learning for your employees and everyone else. And, heck, everything needs learning and training nowadays. And so when you can integrate that with your platform, it's going to deliver a much more rich implementation and certainly a much more rich experience ongoing for your company and all of your stakeholders. So Mark, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you for having me here on your podcast.
You're very welcome. So Clicklearn. It's a learning platform. Why don't you give us the 30-second, what is Clicklearn?
Yeah, so Clicklearn is a digital adoption tool that helps, Microsoft partners, but also Microsoft customers in enabling user adoption. We all know how complicated projects can be today. We are having a lot of different applications, and therefore we also need to adapt into a lot of new programs. And we all learn differently and these types of things. So to make sure that you also get the success out of your ERP investment, digital adoption, user adoption is keywords today.
Yeah, well, you're singing my tune when you say we all learn differently. I love the different learning styles. We've talked about that a lot in our discussions together in prep and other things. But I mean, truly, user adoption is a key point in that oftentimes implementation struggles and even failures in some extreme cases are really led to poor user adoption. They just simply don't come on board. I mean, it's just crucial. So I love the integration of a platform such as this. So what are they living today? What, in the absence of a Clicklearn platform, how do they overcome that? What do they do?
There are multiple ways to do this today, right? But I think some of the key messages when we go into you as a partner, when we're talking the Microsoft, ERP partners, everybody's talking about digital transformation, right? And I think when you are on that journey, you cannot do that without digital adoption. That is why there are so many still really, really high percentage of ERP implementation that still fails. When you don't have this involved in your processes, when you're implementing this, the risk is really, really high. The trend is that we see more and more people are investing in it. Lots of customers have experienced now how it was to maybe have a on-premise environment going into the digital transformations of the cloud, and it is maybe not as ease of use as we always say.
Of course.
You customize it a lot, you change it a lot, and therefore you need specific training content. And COVID hit us also. That was, sorry to say, but a big thing here, because you are sitting with thousands and thousands of employees working remotely. There is no shoulder tapping anymore. You cannot just call somebody. Everybody is on Teams call constantly, right?
Yes.
So you have the lack of actually the response, the knowledge, the know-how. And another thing is also we update and we change all the time. So how do we achieve all that with a digital adoption tool?
Yeah, but I think about the cases where I've worked on ERP implementations, and I've heard horror stories, frankly, of folks who have started an implementation and then had to change partners, change gears, or worse, they've tried to go it alone. They said, well, this is extraordinarily expensive. They say, it can't be that hard. I can do this. So they go it alone. There's so many things that raises your risk of failure. Okay. Certainly your time to value is going to be much, much longer. You lose the opportunity for innovation from things that, the ERP consultant or the ISV partners such as yourself have learned from other companies that we can now bring that to you. And lastly, you're not the training expert. So
no,
even if you did go it alone, and even if you do use Clicklearn, you still have this massive training effort that simply must happen, hence the horror stories that happen. So I just can't emphasize how important that aspect is. Now, when we talked about Clicklearn and we talked about the medium, and you say everybody learns different. So we talked about different formats of training. So why don't you tell me a little bit about some of the differences in how you're bringing that learning to the people who learn different, and also they may have different purposes for different types of training and different types of needs for different situations.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of different ways, right? I think the most common today and what people still use mostly is maybe, unfortunately, Word, PowerPoints,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that,
Sure.
train the trainer.
Mm-hmm.
But it is super time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you write a lot by yourself. You have to take screenshots. You maybe are forgetting steps and you cannot add steps in the middle of a process. When things change, you need to update them. People can take them offline and suddenly you can sit with a document that is,
Mm-hmm.
2 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and it's necessarily not the process anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things we have tried to achieve here or are achieving here is, first of all, it's a lot about speed.
Mm-hmm.
How can we improve the speed of what you do when you're capturing processes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have made a system where you simply just click through your processes.
Mm-hmm.
Clicklearn integrates to the backends of all Microsoft systems. So we go across. We can take you from, all Dynamics, BC, F&O, CE, Power Platforms, Office, etc. So there are no limitations in your processes. I always use the example of my processes starts with an email,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's typically if we're sitting in sales or whatever, somebody requests something, right? And I have to go into one system and then I have to go into another systems, etc. And I finish my day with an email as well in terms of sending a response.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first thing in terms of how we have solved these, that we have one system that can go across to make sure you have, one training solutions for all your platforms.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is then the speed of producing this. So what Clicklearn is actually doing is we are producing 7 different learning formats because we know people interact in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that still likes to, get a PDF, read it, download it, take it with them. People still, as the partners that we work with, like to have it in PowerPoints when they have produced something, and they can still present it in classroom trainings. But when they walk out the door, there is a learning pole with everything that just trained them on.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are, video formats as well. I think it's very important today that people can see a video, that they can interact with videos, and we can also start using videos for user acceptance testing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really some of the things where it becomes very interesting in terms of training.
Mm-hmm.
We can put people into these safe environments. I think you and I both know, and I have at least a decade in this industry, how it is with user acceptance testing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not opening up for test environments or live systems to access or where the customer can actually access it, but have a safe, closed environment that is a simulation where they can go in and train, and we can evaluate them from that point of view. That is really, really key to measure the success of adoptions, and also getting the know-how and the knowledge about what it is you're going to implement and get live with in a month or two.
And that is, to me, that's revolutionary. When I think about a learning platform, okay, I think about it's a one-way delivery of information. But you're talking about extending it beyond training. You're talking into not only that, but sort of a data gathering as well. So where we can deliver the training, have a closed, safe environment, we can capture that, and then we can examine that for user acceptance testing. It literally makes it bidirectional. And
I agree.
that's truly revolutionary. That is completely rethinking training and learning. I mean, it's, I would say we talk, the effectiveness of learning, people learn in different ways, but certainly in sales and live events in the sales and marketing, we do find greater effectiveness from that in-person for in person, we can capture body language, passion in their voice, and all kinds of things, and you can develop a quicker comfort level. Well, certainly video is a proxy for that, and we're able to get some of that. Imagine if I can watch the dwell time of the mouse, okay?
Yeah.
Imagine if they can give me audio feedback and I begin to hear their frustration. Whether or not we're there today or not, I mean, these are all possibilities that we can get from that proxy for in-person training by using that bidirectional video, among so many other things. And of course, you're the expert on this. I'm just imagining being that user and the value that I might get from that, even if I don't fully understand it. So you've talked an awful lot about video. Now we have this two-way. Or are there different? So what are some of the other use cases for the video in the training? Video is video, right? We're not just going to throw out any old video.
No, I understand everybody can record the screen. Some of the other values that we bring to it is digital voices, right? So we can make sure that even though I think you and I have also tried, sitting in Camtasia, recording yourself, creating something, and you made a mistake and you have to go back and you have to edit and everything. Clicklearn have embedded with the digital voices. So again, also when you click through your processes, there will be a digital voice that tells you exactly what you did. And you can add value to that as well. So you can just write your text. So you don't have to sit and record yourself. You can still edit what it actually said afterwards. And that gives tons of values also in terms of updates, changes, etc. Because now you don't have to sit and record your voice. You don't have to time it in terms of what you're doing on your screens, all those things. I think that is one thing that is really, really key to that.
And your user adoption of the tool is crucial as well. If it's actually going to be an effective tool, you actually have to get people to use it. And not everyone is Mark and Chuck. We're out here on video. We're putting ourselves out literally to the world. Anyone who can access the internet, they have the opportunity to see this. Many folks, they don't want to be on camera. They certainly don't want to hear the voice. I don't want you to hear my voice. I don't like the way I sound. It sounds weird. Well, after decades of doing it, and you start to care less. But in this case, many, many, many people are still there. So that digital voice sounds like an amazing way to overcome that hesitancy that people might have to implement that. So you talked about 7 different formats of training. All right. So what does that mean? So I'm aware of 4 different learning styles, and we've talked about video, but when you talked about PowerPoints, but 7 different formats, what does that mean to you and Clicklearn?
So again, it means in terms for us, it's the speed of the formats that you need, right? Okay. So again, we just want you to click through your processes. Okay. And then we produce these 7 different learning formats. And the 7 different learning formats we're talking about is what we call a show me, a try me, and a test me video. Okay. So that's these videos that we have been into. Then we created in Word, PowerPoints, and PDF as well, because we see that is also some of the offline or printed versions that people like to use when we talk about training. And then we also need to create a learning portal, so an HTML page. Wow. So you can actually, distribute it out, as we just talked about, send Chuck an email. Here is what we just clicked through today. Here are your processes of what we have done in this training. And it's available, straight after. So it is really, really improving on speed and having whatever format that people like to learn from and make it available for everybody in whatever formats as well that they prefer.
So, the 4 different learning styles are kinesthetic, to learn by doing, visual, to learn by seeing, auditory, to learn by listening, and then reading, to learn from the written word. You literally start with video, that proxy for human live interaction, and then you translate it. It either is, if they gather it, it is kinesthetic. Okay, that bidirectional. If they watch it, it is visual. And if they listen to all of that with the digital voices and other things, they're hearing it. And then you translate it into the written word and more visual materials. So you're literally covering all 4 of the styles in a way that is, I'm not going to call it robotic or fully automated, but it's somewhat automated and in a way kind of magic. You are saving a massive amount of time for the folks to be able to improve the effectiveness of the training to satisfy all the learning styles and all of the scenarios with a bidirectional video first tool.
Absolutely. And I love you call it magic. We have customers. I actually have posts on the walls here where we have response from clients say Clicklearn is magic.
You heard it here,
So
folks. Clicklearn is magic. Mark is the expert. I'm not the expert, but Clicklearn is magic for your learning platform and your needs of your users. That's it. Mic drop. We're done. So, I think the fact that it's magic makes it different. Clearly, but there are other platforms out there. So
absolutely,
it's magic. All right. So you're differentiated that way. Talk to me about some of the differentiation between Clicklearn and some of the other platforms.
There's a lot of tools out there for sure. Like we already mentioned that you can do it yourself, Word, you have Camtasia. There are a lot of different types of tools where you can record something, you can produce it in one format. I think some of the challenges is when you are talking ERP implementation cross platforms is to find a tool that can cover all of that. So that you actually can make sure you have one training tool no matter what application you're using. It's really, really key to our customers. The other thing is also when we see competitors, it's often, again, aligned to an in-app tool, right? It's something that sits specifically inside a tool where, again, we have the opportunities of you can host it wherever you want. We have already that you can have a learning portal that is hosted from us and makes that available, right? So that I think that's the key thing for us that we can go across. The other thing is also when you're starting implement or investing maybe a bit more heavy in user adoptions. I think we all know from Microsoft world implementing ERP implementations sometimes is time consuming. We have made it super simple. It's a 60 megabyte application that you can install in less than 5 minutes. There is no server integrations. I don't need to have access to a lot of things. It's plug and play. So it's really shocking for customers when we say that, and we come kind of, we are pure SaaS model, no additional things. It is plug and play. And then they're like, but what about all the cost afterwards? There is nothing. We can set you up in less than an hour and it works on all of your systems. Then you just need to know how to use Clicklearn.
And there it is. So again, back to why the heck they're coming to us in the first place. It's that time to value. You can deliver your ERP, your CRM project, or some of your other Microsoft tools that are in the Microsoft ecosphere. You can deliver those and you can get an ROI. But to exaggerate, the ROI could take 25 years. The fact that you have this lightweight cloud system that you can get up and running in an hour and begin to build out training as you overcome that learning curve, and with the assistance of someone like a Turnkey Technologies, we can dramatically improve that learning curve. Okay, we can deliver materials to you. We can guide you through it. All of these different things. But that time to value is like light speed compared to the alternatives. And that's really what it's about, because we all have someone to whom we need to answer. And they don't just want return on investment. They want the return on investment to begin to occur very, very quickly and minimize the risk dramatically by dramatically improving user adoption likelihood and avoiding that potential route for failure. So that's crazy.
And unfortunately, there is still a trend in the market of bringing in training and documentation as you go live, right?
Yeah.
And that was something we acknowledged very early. So it was for everything for us was about speed then. If we get brought in kind of a 2 weeks before we go live, we, sorry to say, have a handwritten piece of paper of how to use it. We need to make sure that it's not hesitating the clients in investing in user adoption so that we can come in, plug and play, and create it in less than a month. And the other thing is also when they are kind of in a live phase, they have spent a lot of their budgets here.
Yes.
So being price sensitive, making sure and that the customers, if they like to, they can do it themselves. We do not need to ask implementation partners for, adding 5 and other resources for a certain amount per hour to do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know a lot with the partners here to talk
Mm-hmm.
a bit about them. It is not something they, sorry to say, appreciate. I hope I don't offend anybody here.
You're not offending
But
us. That's why we've
but
embraced Clicklearn.
exactly. But spend your time and knowledge where you are really good at it. You are
Mm-hmm.
really good about the ERP. You are very good in consultancy,
Mm-hmm.
developing and delivering what
Mm-hmm.
the features and the product processes of their needs.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make training and documentation easy and simple and maintain it in an easy and efficient way. So we have as less time
Mm-hmm.
consume to spend when we do this, right?
Yep.
I think that's some of the key words, and also being successful in
Mm-hmm.
digital adoption.
Lest you think this is all just hyperbole, folks. A real story happened to me this week. A contact of mine, a customer from a former life, had implemented a warehouse management system. And this person, I developed a good relationship very quickly, and he trusts me. He trusts my opinion, apparently. Who knew? And he sent me a message. He said, I need your opinion. We implemented this system and we just finished delivery, and they've checked off that training is completed. We never got any training. That company, they had a company doing it. They didn't have that additional level of support, that training that you get from that dedicated consultant, and it wasn't in the original scope of work. Now they have a brand new product and they've not been trained. So it's not only is it important to consider, you need to begin with the end in mind. If user adoption is such a failure path for these digital transformations, then you need to begin with the end in mind and really work backward, right? So it's time to value, ROI, consider why you're going to fail, plan for that, and work backwards all the way to how the heck do we get started. In this case, unfortunately, this customer has to go back and they now have to incur those extra costs, which it probably would have cost them that money anyway, but it's going to be very slow. They're not going to be getting the return on investment from their system now because they have this big delay.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a real story that literally happened to me in the past week and a half. Lest everybody just think that Mark and I are just making this up because this is what we have to do on a Thursday morning. So
it is unfortunately something we see a lot, and also, as I mentioned before, in terms of this, speed of implementing it, right? Because exactly in this case, they expected that this was the budget and what they have to do.
That's right. That's right.
They don't have the time right now to actually say, hey, Mark, if I need to take 3 to 6 months to implement your system as well, no way.
No way.
So,
yeah. Yep. Hence the speed. That's amazing. So I have one really important question. I mean, one of the things that happens with training, if you go it alone, if you use the other ways, if you're not using a Clicklearn platform, is you have this, and it happens all the time. It happens with code base. It happens with documentation. I mean, I literally have a friend whose whole life is documentation training and for the medical industry. And they have several people on the team, and that's all they do. Thankfully, they have to, and they have invested in that. But oftentimes, the documentation becomes out of date. And it becomes this, you don't find it until, well, I don't have time for that. So we know enough, we'll just get by. Well, what happens to the training materials when the documentation gets out of date? So in terms of, how have you planned for that? What are how would you use Clicklearn to get that back to the concept of speed? How are you getting that back up to date?
I can just to answer what happens, because we know what happens. You increase your support ticket significantly, both in-house and also to your partners.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So first of all, it is so important that what people are seeing on a learning portal, Word, PDF document of what they have to do, if the screen capture and the text is not matching what you're doing, arms falls off people. Sorry to say. And they're just going to call, say the system is not working.
Right.
And this is where really we're talking lack of user adoption.
Mm-hmm.
So to overcome that, we have a feature where we can replay our instructions. We call it replay. And we are not a screen recorder. We actually understand the business systems that we work with. So that means that I'm capturing fields, entities, customizations, configurations when you use Clicklearn.
Mm-hmm.
So when there is a change, and this was also really, really big when we went in, in terms of Microsoft being in the cloud,
Mm-hmm.
no longer in control of training and document, or no longer in control of updates and changes.
Mm-hmm.
How do we stay consistent?
Mm-hmm.
So Clicklearn has a feature where we can simply replay any of your learning instructions when there have been a change, when there have been a customization, or when there have been an update. And we will let you know that if there's, of course, any additional steps that needs to be added,
Mm-hmm.
this is here, you need to add those.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just a change of the UI, that's also happens a lot. Like we just changed the big thing in Clicklearn and a new UI and all these things. But that we still know where all the features and functions are. So that's
Mm-hmm.
just a UI change. So then we can update all the screen captures and everything in one go.
Mm-hmm.
So again, back to the thing of have one platform to create training and documentations across your entire portfolio of products,
Mm-hmm.
and then making sure that you can update them frequently when you are no longer in control of updates of your systems.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have the replay function inside Clicklearn.
And you touch upon an absolutely crucial point. You can have one platform for learning. You can go out and get some third party and do it all yourself. But as you said, Clicklearn has a deep understanding of the business systems. They have a deep understanding of the processes involved in this Dynamics 365 and Microsoft ecosphere. So you know where those bones are buried. You know how to bring that to the users and help them to speed the updates so that the documentation is far more likely to stay up to date and ready for new processes that people have to learn, new employees. And, as we know, attrition happens, unfortunately. There's very few people who stay at one company for life, although, my stepdad did 50 years. And that is just crucial to long-term success. So you have your implementation success, okay? You have your short-term success, you have employee and user satisfaction and user adoption, which are crucial. And then you're guaranteeing yourself, or certainly raising your probability dramatically for long-term success and continued return on investment of this system. And that is it's just paramount. Anybody who thinks that this is just to make your life more difficult in terms of you using an ERP you simply need to go, why the heck are we doing this? Well, the reason we're doing this is so that we can do more things with the same resources we have. And in order to do that way we can deliver more value to our customers, more value to our employees, more value to our stakeholders. And the more time we have, the easier it is to learn, the greater value we can deliver, and we can stay satisfied in our positions, and the company and the people can continue to thrive. And that's an amazing journey. Do you have any closing thoughts for us, Mark? I mean, this is enlightening to me. My mind's a little blown. I need duct tape to wrap around the bald head. So, but do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'm happy to have this conversation again. There is still a lot of more value that we add into the product or to the Microsoft Dynamics. We still haven't touched based on, how to implement it inside your business applications, how to start use training for automated process testings, etc. So I am more than happy to come back at another time, Chuck, and then discuss some of these other advantages that you can do when you have your training and documentation in place, what you actually then can do from there, and the advantages of that.
Yeah, and in fact, folks, in our prep sessions and discussions that we've done, we've got, I think, 4 more topics lined up. So consider this part 1 of the Clicklearn journey, the learning journey for Clicklearn for you, and stay tuned for the next one when we get it deeper into exactly those things Mark discussed. Thank you so much for playing along, Mark. It's been a joy. It's been enlightening. Clearly, you are a subject matter expert on how to get things done and user adoption and get those folks up and running quickly. And I'm very grateful for that. And I know that our customers will be as well. On behalf of Mark Olesen and Clicklearn, my name is Chuck. On behalf of Turnkey Technologies, a full offering Microsoft Gold partner for ERP and CRM. Thanks for listening to the Turnkey 365 podcast. Take care, folks.